There we are. Recording is in progress, and I would like to welcome everybody who's tuned in with us today again. We are Oakwalker and Frank Stronghorse, and we do Earth Medicine for the Soul, which is a short, informal podcast about stories and concepts around the expansion of consciousness. It usually has some kind of a shamanic or indigenous emphasis and things like that. So, welcome and thank you for joining us. And here we go. Today, Frank was he was pinging me on, we should talk about things that caused a shift in your life. And there's so many of these, and that it's hard to like pick one. But one of the ones, what's funny about so many of them is that when they happen, I think that I've already done that. What are you telling me this for? Oh, we already did that. I'm done with that. You know? So there was uh in one particular ceremony we were doing with Jason Blasing, my first big time mentor in the Pachacuti Mesha tradition. And he was doing what we call a masada. So in a masada, there's a plant medicine involved, and you stay, it takes all night long. You prepare your stomach by eating a special diet. You prepare by clearing your your energy body, and you spend one whole day just getting ready for the actual masada, which is going to take place, shall we say, we usually did them on Saturday night so that we were finished by Sunday morning. And we would be up all night doing these medicine journeys with one another. And one of the first ones I went to do with Jason, I thought that I was doing great. I was with a group of people that I considered family. They seemed to be accepting me, which was one of the things that I had a hard time. I always had a hard time finding groups of people who uh, liked me. And could never figure out why. And so here I'm just happy-go-lucky and feeling great. And we go into the ceremony and everything's starting to get real serious, and people are, doing all their internal grounding and preparing for the ceremony. And Jason calls me up into the center and he's like, brother, when I look at you, all I see are a bunch of fingers pointing outward. And I was like, uh-oh. And he goes, it's as if you think that everything is happening to you and it's all everybody else's fault. And I'm like, I was right in there. Well, it is. It ain't me. It's all these assholes doing all this stuff all the time. What do you expect me to do? So here I am proving everything that he has to say. And as I went through the rest of that evening, as I was fortunate enough to be the first one up because it was the worst one. Everybody else was so grateful that I went first because nothing they did was going to be that bad. Nothing they went through was going to look anything like that. And I got very, very quiet. And then you go into a dreaming time, which is when your consciousness is way out there and it isn't really related to anything earthbound, if you will. And these are wonderful ceremonies. And I really started going through exactly what all that meant. And it meant that is even as even as good as I was doing, I was still in a state of complete reactivity. In other words, I was an actor and or a reactor instead of an actor. And it just came back over and over and over again. And I could see in each case that there was a choice to be made there. And Viktor Frankl said this and I used to have this pasted onto my lamp at work, where he said the essence of human freedom is the ability to pause between stimulus and response, and in that pause, to choose which direction you want to throw your weight. And I always thought that,
Hmm.
I mean, I knew for years and years that I knew that that was a basic truth, that it was something that was really, really fundamentally inherent to my existence. But I hadn't been practicing it. I hadn't been taking the pause. And when I came out of that, so the healing process for that was Jason literally put me up and he literally unwound. He unwound me until I was sitting down on the ground, and all of that past energy just just unwound off of me counterclockwise, just for, so you know. And then he wound me back up,
Yeah.
like putting me back together again, only this time um, a lot less of a victim. And really, when I walked out of that one ceremony, that was one of the ones that really affected me in the most positive way, was facing off the victimhood and the reactivity that I was still doing, even though I did not believe that I was doing that anymore. I got an opportunity to sit down and really take a look at that and really just deal with it. And then he found a way to break off, to just cast that all off with his healing techniques, and then for me to wrap myself in a cloak of comfort and truth that I could rely on and carry with me so that I wasn't so defensive anymore. Because it really did all boil down to defensiveness. And that was a defensiveness that had been ingrained into me through my interactions with my families, with my elementary schools, high school, um, most of my jobs. It just, I always felt like I was under attack, and I didn't feel attacked anymore after I walked out of that one. And I will be forever grateful to Mr. Jason Blasing for running me through that on that day. Wish
Yeah,
that was
we
funnier.
have a very similar kind of ceremony called the light dark walk talk mirror.
Uh-huh.
And you sit in the circle, and then you tell your story. And then they go around the circle and they mirror to your dark side, your shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go around the circle again and they give you your light. They show you your light side,
Uh-huh.
And it's a very, very, very powerful ceremony. These are ancient techniques that go back thousands of years,
Yeah,
and that's what you're telling. There's a perfect story of how someone can take magic and use it in a healing context that
exactly.
is profound,
Mhm.
really profound and beneficial. I think the thing that comes to me when I was listening to you is that that aspect, and I think everybody is trained to believe that they're a victim. I think all of us are. I think it's particularly here in the United States.
Yeah,
It's you have to have that sort of indoctrination to be um, enslaved to the non-magical world,
yeah,
to where you're dependent on somebody else, dependent on somebody else coming to your rescue or doing for you or accepting you or believing in you or whatever, And so everyone's constantly struggling to make to find that slot, to
yeah,
find that instead of their instead of finding their own particular magic, their own particular power within themselves,
hmm,
which we know is the authentic self,
yeah,
And so this is becoming, here's I think here's where the fabric I think is getting ripped apart with this shift is that this, it's just going to be like that, that dependency is going or that victimhood is going to have to be removed, just like he did in that ceremony.
Uh-huh.
Uh, uh, but I think it's going to be done on a collective level, really do. And and so, you know, but there will be in that time space dimensional reality, there will be an opportunity for people to see their real power, their own individual power within the context of this new environment that they find
Hmm.
themselves in. How that's going to go down, I have no idea. I'm just sort of really kind of prophesizing, I guess, in terms of what I think the alchemy is going to do
Hmm.
on the shift, and I think that, but the other things I think that, I mean, I consider you and I both to be sort of on the front lines of the light workers.
Uh-huh.
And I was talking to Colleen actually the other night, and we were discussing this, and we got into talking about different people in terms of what they've had to encounter in their lifetime and based to really become empowered as a light worker themselves, and I the metaphor I used was like invasion of France or the Iwo Jima, and I said it's always the first wave that gets the most flack.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
they get hit the hardest, the
Yeah.
Marines,
The
and
highest
they go
casualty
in and
rate.
they get their ass kicked, and then the second and third, fourth, fifth waves, they're bringing in the heavy artillery and stuff, and so
Hmm.
it was actually kind of we were talking about her kids, and then I said I think they don't have they haven't clued into this yet of what their authentic self is all about. They're still chasing that the American dream,
Yeah.
and so, but I think that more and more people, are going to wake up one day as this shift occurs and go, man, what was I thinking? I mean,
Uh-huh.
wow. I really think it's going to be a massive collective awakening, and some people will be able to deal with it and will be thrilled with what's happening, and other
Uh-huh.
people will be pretty freaked out by it.
Yeah. And I think that ones that are going to be the most freaked out are the ones that use coercion and divisiveness and hatred to move themselves through their world. That is an extreme expression of defensiveness. It really is. Sorry.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And people who've worked like hell to get their own personal agenda moved up to the front,
Hmm.
of whatever they're involved in. They feel like they need attention. And all of that is just it's a way to try to cope with this victim bullshit. Because nobody's going to stand up and say, "Yeah, I was a victim. I was good too. I want to
Yeah,
tell
I
you."
had a great time.
Oh, nothing like getting your ass kicked, I got to tell you. But I think a lot of people will. I think that the alchemy of the shift is going to be such that people will realize it, but they will realize it in a good way, in a way that allows them to see the alternative almost simultaneously. I mean,
Hmm.
in your situation, I don't know how much time is involved between him winding you and unwinding you, but that was basically what you did within that magical circle. He
Yeah,
unwound you, wound you back up. So you were able to do what I'm talking about on a microcosmic level. And I think that what we're going to see is on a macrocosmic level. I think we're going to see that happening all over the place.
yeah. And so I don't know why, but I always had the impression that the two consciousnesses, one was going to sort of sink out of sight, you know, and that there would be the evolved people. I mean, that's a good word. Well, the evolved people, you know, and the unevolved, that they were just going to like, we wouldn't be able to see them anymore. And it's just an impression I've always had. And you can hear it linguistically too in a lot of the ways that people talk about the shift, like, you know, evil will go away and stuff like that. That's actually not true. It'll just, you know, it'll be a different, everything will take a different form, really. So I
Yeah, I
don't
think that
think that,
I think
yeah,
go
I don't
ahead.
think that people are going to disappear. That whole level of consciousness may die out from attrition. You know, they just won't put any new haters in that bubble. But I don't think that I think you'll still be able to see them, but you'll be able to see them for what they are, and they're not going to want to be around me anymore because they don't like evolved people.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I don't know
I
how.
think that I think if you, I'm trying to come up with a metaphor. You know, if you went on a hunting trip, let's say to Alaska, and
Uh-huh.
you know, you had a guide and you were hiking back into the woods there, you know, and you know, the smart guy would be hanging with the guide because he knows the area and he knows how to deal with bears if they show up. You know, the stupid people be like, "Oh, I don't need a guide, man. I'll just trip
Yeah,
on out here and you know do my thing, you know."
yeah.
And I think that you know I think that that's going to happen on the same scale. You know, I think people are going to really. I mean, and I've said this for years. I think the environment is going to change to such a degree that people are going to be looking for people that can help them deal with what's going on. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I just think and I think there's a lot of, there's more out there than you and I probably are aware of people that are qualified to do that, to be guides, you know.
You see
I
more every
really think
day.
more
More every
every day
day.
is absolutely true. Absolutely true. You know, and you know, so I think that you know, the people that are listening to this that have had some curtsy or shamanic or spiritual work, you know, all of that's valuable. All of it. You
Oh
know, you don't
yeah.
have to be massively, uh, you know, 20 years in of ceremonies every month, you know, I mean, or whatever, you know,
Yep.
it's just because it's, you know, as you and I both know, intention is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything, you know, and if you have the intent to be, it's like I think early on we started talking about, you know, oh, I got a great story on this. I've been waiting to tell this. We talked about go out and do 10 acts of kindness, you know,
Uh-huh.
just do acts of 10 acts of kindness in a week. And this will be, it'll radicalize your life. And so here's my story. This is hilarious. So Swifter gives us that warrior task assignment. He says, go out and do 10 acts of kindness and then come back in a week and we'll get to come back together and you know, share your stories. So I'm in Phoenix at the time. So I'm driving one night, you know, well, this guy in front of me in the car drives up on the sidewalk, right? So he's obviously drunk, you know, and so I pull up next to him, I roll my window down, and I'm just reading this guy the riot act. You know, calling him every name in the book. Drive into this gas station down here, pull in here. You're too damn drunk. You're gonna kill yourself and kill somebody else. Man, I follow him in there, and he, you know, he's looking at me like, who the hell are you? And he parks his car, and I go, call a cab. Don't try, you know, I just really, and I call him every name in the book, you know, and then finally I drive away and I'm going down the street and I'm thinking, that's got to be an act of kindness, right? That's got to qualify. Surely that works.
Yep.
And I told it, you know, I said, well, here's the one. I mean, of course, everybody just roared, you know, like, you know, but
Yeah,
it's
so it's
true,
just
you know. I mean, there's a lot of truth in it. If you'll just go try to do 10 acts of kindness, but you got to have intention. You got to have intent. You have to intend to the universe, hey, I want to do 10, bring me opportunities to do acts of kindness.
Uh-huh.
Bring them to me. Because you can't just randomly walk around and think, well, maybe this will happen,
Oh yeah,
Doesn't
the
work
people
like
would
that.
freak out.
Yeah.
It's like you can't
And
just go
and
flying
it's
around town.
no, and the whole teaching there was how to do intent.
Hmm.
How to use intention as a way of manifesting.
Yeah, I've been known to tell people because here in Texas, there's a lot of it's the Bible Belt, you know, and um I teach some kids, and I'll tell them I have been known to say, there's nothing wrong with Jesus. Keep Jesus, but lose the hate because you can keep all the good stuff. You the tradition that you're in wouldn't be a tradition if there weren't, hi, sweetie, if there weren't good things about it. I mean, it has to have some kind of relationship to creator and the benefit of working with creator in order for it to have lasted as a viable tradition, right? But being human, of so many of the traditions, and maybe all of them have a little of this in them somewhere, is that there's things where people just kind of get it tweaked off. And you want to stick with the creator, keep the good stuff and lose the rest. It's not really about the what, it's about the how. Even though your story was like that was a bad how, but it still got the job done. Oh, you come to say hi? You're a sweet dog. Yeah. Say hi to the
Yeah,
folks.
I think that even if you really focus on kindness and trying to actively pursue kindness and do acts of kindness for other people, unrequested, just at the spur of the moment, that it's going to train your body and your mind and your soul to be able to acclimate to the shift.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of preparing because a lot of people, I'm sure, are thinking, well, what do I do? How do I, if this really happens, how do I get ready for this or this and that? And thinking about it, I didn't, you and I could both give stories of our shamanic background and the training we did and this and that, but it's, I mean, that's kind of what drew me into Melchizedek is that I was out on ceremony one time. I was thinking, I love this crazy stuff, but I don't know that a whole lot of other people do. I don't know that this is going to really change the world sitting out in the,
Uh-huh.
high desert of Mexico in a medicine wheel. But so, I think so I was looking for like, what can I do? What can be done to help change the collective in a way that everyone benefits.
Hmm.
Everybody benefits, and there's not any negative connotations or you know you've got to go spend 3 nights in a cave, and
Yeah.
pray that you don't get eaten by a mountain lion. But I I think acts of kindness is kind of a. I mean, what do you think? It seems to me like that's kind of a shortcut.
Well, so three things came to mind. The first one is that in my hugest epiphany that I ever had, which I think I've shared, but and maybe we'll do it again someday. But at the end of that huge epiphany, when I was shown that everything I think and do and every action that I take, it's like going into an Easter basket and it goes out into the universe and it goes out all around the edge of the universe and collects all the stuff in it that's just like what I just said, right? And then it comes back and hits you. So they said, it's up to you. What, here I am having this, huge enlightenment all of a sudden. It's up to you. They said, what do you want? And from my background, the answer was obvious. I want to be loved. Never felt that way. I just want to be loved. And they said, so then go and do that. So go and do it. And and this is the next thing. It's one step at a time. What do you do to get started on this path? You take the first step. It's one step at a time. Start giving beauty, start giving light, start giving love, and then wait for it, because it's not going to happen in the next 10 seconds. It might not even happen in the next 2 weeks, but you will if you consistently run this test and do it for a while, do it for a year. Just go out and throw out as many acts of kindness as you can imagine and just keep doing it. You're going to see that your life gets better, that it's going to come back. And what do you want to do? You want to take the first step. Go be nice to
That's a
somebody.
really, really good point. That's absolutely true. And in another word, said another word I want to hit on there about beauty. I, I recently talked to this person about that, about you need to start focusing on beauty, and the reason was, and this is kind of an example. I mean, we were up in a little town, San Sebastian, up in the Sierra Madres, and we were having dinner one night, and there were some guys over there, and they were playing some music, or had some music playing or whatever, and I was kind of just digging on being in this little village, and the night and the stars, and this music kind of, it all fit together, and it was a kaleidoscope of beauty that I was just immersing myself in, and I was just loving it, I just was letting it, and I was letting it come into me, and being thankful for being able to be there to experience it, and this and that. And this person steps up and goes, I wish those guys had changed the channel or something, and I was like, Jesus, like what? Where's that music coming from? Like somebody's radio on their car. I said, who cares? Who cares? You know, I mean, they just completely didn't get it. They
Yeah.
they couldn't allow themselves to let go and just experience the beauty of what was going on around them in the moment.
Uh-huh.
They had to like step in
Judge.
and like be the ugly American, like
Right.
those stupid people with their car radio or whatever it was. I mean,
Right.
and, and I brought it up to him. I said, you really are focusing on the wrong thing here. You know, you're, you're sitting in this village, you're eating an incredible dinner out on the sides, out on the street, under
Uh-huh.
a moonlit night. Who cares where the music's coming from, man?
Right.
It's like you know, it's like looking at a painting in the Louvre or something, and pointing out, I wonder what he was thinking when he painted that part. You know,
Look at
I
that
don't know,
nose.
but yeah. What oh my God. Anyway, but so that's really important, that I think if you look for beauty, beauty will find you.
Exactly. Perfectly
You
put.
know, it's so it's so important to intention. You got to have intent. You got to hold that intent. You can't
Yeah.
just get up in the morning and go, well, I'm going to go look for some beauty today,
Yeah,
or
because
hope it
you
finds me, or see if
doubts just
those
undo the
weird
whole
shamans I was
process.
listening to, see if it really works, man.
Right. Yeah, I don't think
You
it
know,
will, but I'll try it anyway.
I'm going to go to the bank. But I think that in doing acts of kindness, if you can just master those two parts right there, probably gonna be a long way to getting yourself acclimated to the shift.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
You
And
know,
I think that we've reached another excellent stopping point in our discussions as we move forward through this. That was really nice. So we're ending on beauty, which I think we should make that like a theme. Ending on beauty again here. Let's just get beautiful.
that's
Go out
right.
and be
That's
beautiful.
right. Walk your talk. Walk your
Right.
talk. Oh
So
man.
thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in with us and holding space for us for that whole half hour. Holy cow, I don't know how you do it, but we appreciate you. And we're working up the website, and it's earth-ems.org. And we'll have more to offer you on there, so stay in touch. And that's also where to find out where the next episode is going to come from and where it might turn up. So have yourself a beautiful evening.
Oh.
I hope.